Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Mark Medley Show. Thank you so much. Always happy and grateful to receive your applause. And today is April 1st. And we have another episode. And this one I think is going to be somewhat of a short episode of The Mark Medley Show because it's dealing with what we traditionally knew as April Fool's Day, which is today, April the 1st. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, look a little bit at that, and how things may or may not have changed since we did that, when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s or what have you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as to why, in my view, we may or may not want to acknowledge anything dealing with foolishness, only because we have so much of it on a daily basis that we really don't need, in my view again, to acknowledge or celebrate anybody being a fool because we have enough of them.
Well, it is April 1st, commonly known as April Fool's Day. Now, again, some of these things, whenever I was a kid and years ago, kind of, they were fun and made some sense. And sadly, we're to the point now wherein a lot of the things we used to do that was just plain old good, plain fun. Now, because things are always so negative and so dangerous, you just wonder, do we need to even acknowledge it? However, today, the 1st of April is commonly known as April Fool's Day. Now, for me, and again, a lot of times I have to do that disclaimer. The views and opinions heard here on this show are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not reflect the opinions or the beliefs of William Patterson University. So many of the things, if not all of the things that I say are mine, not necessarily reflective of what the radio station may believe. But this is, again, Mark A. Medley View. Sometimes my view can be somewhat counter, sometimes, not all the time. Many people tell me I think too deep. And, maybe I do, but most of the time I push back on that is you don't think deep enough. But I think, be honest with you, and again, this is just me, I think we have enough fools out there all year long. I don't think we need to acknowledge fools on April 1st because we have enough fools on every other day, week, month, throughout the year. Because if you take a look of what's going around, every time you look around, there's a fool. Every time you turn on, and that's why I haven't watched the news now in almost 2 years. I have not watched the news on a regular basis since July of 2021. I have not watched, and I do not come in. At one point, I would come in every day, make sure I turned on the news, I would sit and watch. But it got to the point wherein it was the same stuff every day. Who got killed, what school shooting, what rape, what murder, what this, what that. It was the same stuff every day. So I was like, there's no need in constantly taking in this negativity. So, therefore, I kind of stopped watching the news. The only time I see the news is if I happen to be in a store or a shop or something that has it on. And so while I'm waiting or either being serviced, I will tune in to kind of see what's going on. A lot of what I get is from social media. I will take a look at social media as I go through Twitter or as I look on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. That kind of keeps me up with the main things. Like, I knew Donald Trump was indicted because I happened to be looking at Instagram and it was coming up on all the different feeds. Donald Trump was indicted. Had it not been for that, I would not have known because I'm not watching TV. I don't really listen to the radio too much, even though I'm a radio personality and I do try to support other radio personalities. I don't listen a whole lot, but I do listen from time to time. Probably listen to more radio now than I do watching of TV. But in any event, so back to my point. As a kid, we always knew April Fool's Day was for playing pranks and, having some fun and jokes on folks. But like I said, in 2023, because things are so hard, and it's a sad statement, because kids coming up do not get the joy or the excitement of some of the things that we did as kids because of everything being so off. So, many times whenever I'm here on the show, if particularly around Halloween, New Year's, Memorial Day, any of the holidays where folks feel the need to drink and get drunk, you'll always hear my admonishment about, please, if you feel like you must do that, I'm not judging you. I'm not mad at you. My only thing I ask is do not get behind the wheel of a car, because at that point, you get behind the wheel of a car, it becomes a weapon. And then when something happens, they say, well, what was going on? Why were you so drunk? Why was it? And it's always because it was New Year's, because it was Halloween, because it was, so we've like taken things to just a whole new level, just a whole new level altogether. And so that's why for me, yes, today's April 1st, traditionally known as April Fool's Day, but for me, we have fools every day. Now, if you don't believe that, then go ahead and turn on the news or read the newspaper or whatever. And the only assessment of a rational thinking person is that was foolishness. And foolishness is usually brought about by fools.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Mark Medley Show. Had a little bit of fun poking some fun at April Fool's Day. Me personally, I think we have enough fools that we don't need to acknowledge anymore. However, I understand tradition. But if you want to catch me, you can catch me live on Saturday mornings from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock a.m. each Saturday morning on GoBrave.org. That's anywhere around the world. If you're in the northern New Jersey area, it's 88.7 FM. You can also catch us on the TuneIn Radio Network and iHeart Radio Network and many other platforms as well. But I tell you what, go to markamedley.com. That's markamedley.com. And that is the portal to everything else and everything that I do. The blog, the podcast, the radio show, my musical work, all of my social media platforms, they're all there. So just go to markamedley.com. Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful April, since we are at the beginning of April and today is April 1st. May you have a wonderful April.